In the spring of 1945, Berlin stood on the edge. Once the capital of an empire that seemed invincible, now it was a city in waiting, waiting for the storm, waiting for the inevitable. All around it, the Red Army advanced, unstoppable, determined, and unforgiving. For months, the Eastern Front had pushed westward, leaving behind shattered towns and broken armies. Now all roads led to Berlin. By mid-April, the noose had tightened. Over 1 million Soviet troops surrounded the city. Tanks, artillery, infantry, every unit in position. The capital was isolated, its fate already sealed. And yet, it stood. On April 16th, the final offensive began. Artillery thundered from the banks of the Oder River, lighting up the sky in a storm of fire and steel. Day turned to night. Night turned to chaos. Entire divisions moved like shadows through the forest, across fields, and into the city's edge. Berlin was no longer a city. It was a fortress, a battlefield, a maze of ruins and resistance. Street by street, building by building, the Red Army pushed forward. Each intersection was a struggle, each block a war within a war. German forces, now made up of remnants, young boys, old men, wounded veterans, fought not with hope, but out of habit. The sound of orders had become quieter, the silence of resignation louder. Inside the city, civilians crowded into basements, metro stations, and bunkers. Families huddled beneath shaking ceilings as buildings collapsed above them. Water was scarce. Electricity flickered, then vanished. The sound of footsteps in the hallway often meant nothing, or everything. By the final week of April, the government, once commanding global attention, was unraveling. Communications failed. Power lines snapped. Leadership that once stood in marble chambers now whispered in shadows. And then, on April 30th, beneath the weight of concrete and history, the lights went out. Not in the city above, but in the bunker below. The final command was silence. Above ground, Berlin burned. Fires raged through libraries, homes, and palaces. The air was filled with smoke, dust, and the collapse of an era. Soviet soldiers reached the Reichstag, a symbol of old power. They fought their way up the steps, room by room, until they reached the rooftop. It was more than a signal of victory. It was a mark left on history. The world saw it and understood. On May 2nd, 1945, the city surrendered, not with ceremony, not with speeches, but with silence. The streets were no longer echoing with boots or gunfire, but with the quiet that comes after something has ended. Berlin, once the heart of ambition, now lay in ruins. Buildings stood as skeletons, statues as reminders, and memories as scars. But from that silence came reflection. The fall of Berlin was not just a military moment. It was the final breath of a world that had consumed itself. Millions had been lost. Borders had been redrawn. And when the dust settled, the world faced a new dawn, uncertain, fractured, but alive. The ruins of Berlin whispered a truth that echoed across nations. No empire is eternal, and no silence lasts forever.